Welcome to the Arsenal show. We are live, and I've got a full house with me tonight. We're here to discuss the transfer window that Arsenal were sort of a part of. We were kind of involved in, but didn't really do anything in. I mean, we got a player called Trusty, which it seemed like it was. I thought we was getting trolled last night when I was told that we brought a player called Trusty, and they said trust the process. But apparently, this player is meant to be good. Colorado Rapids centre back, but we don't even get him in this window. We get him. I think he goes on loan for the rest of the year, and then we're looking to loan him out next year anyway. So it's a long-term signing, but nothing for this window. So here to discuss tonight is my two co-hosts, Steve, Kate, and Jerome Marks. How you doing, Steve?
How you doing, mate? You all right, mate?
I'm good. Have your stress levels settled from yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit.
All right, I'm sure we're in more in the show. And Jerome, how you doing?
Yeah, fine. I haven't been refreshing Twitter as much the last few hours as I was last night. So, yeah, all okay.
What's the point, mate? What's the point?
Yeah, I know.
No late fax machines coming through now. And we're joined by what's turned out to be a regular guest now, Simon Lester. How you doing, Simon?
Thanks, Kieran. Yeah, I'm chilled. I never get stressed. I'm even more chilled than what I was this time yesterday. The voice.
Do you know what? I'm glad you're on tonight because I want a bit of balance. I thought I was going to have to do that myself because I know that Steve's ready to roll. He's ready to go. And we've got anyone who's on Arsenal Twitter will know this guy. It's Con Marble Halls. How you doing, Con? The suspense is killing me. He's paused. We're getting back in a minute. All right. And we've already got people waiting in here. What's he saying? Give us Diego Costa. Surely not. Surely you don't want Diego Costa. Tony on Goats. Arsenal plus Champions League equals Haaland 2022. Glenn 10. I'd love to see it. Con, we got you back now. I can see you blinking in the background. How you doing, Con?
Sorry, boys. I'm all right, boys. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. First of all, Steve, I know you've been in and amongst it. Transfer specialist over here. What's your thoughts, first and foremost, on a transfer window where Arsenal didn't bring anything in? I know you had your say last night, but what's your thoughts now?
Well, it hasn't changed. And it hadn't changed before the window. I was expecting things to happen before the window, and I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm baffled that we're going to be going into the next 18 games with a worse squad than when we started than we did 24 hours ago, and that makes no sense to me. And, you've seen people like, teams like Spurs, they've strengthened, and West Ham, they've shown intent. But, I'll give it to Arsenal. They've shown intent. I'll give them that. I know, as you say, being at the sharp end, that, I've known that they've tried. But to me, there's no excuse for me. You can pick up someone or anybody from anywhere, pick up a championship player who can, who would come to Arsenal at a drop of a hat if you went and got him. Just some kind of cover, something. But for some reason, we've decided to think that we're going to weaken ourselves and go into the last 18 games with a lesser squad, which, as I said, I can't get my head around.
Simon, you seem a bit more calm about the situation. What's your thoughts on the transfer window and the fact that Arsenal didn't bring anyone in and got rid of a lot of players as well?
Yeah, so let's break it down. So there's 17 games left for us to go in just under 4 months. So the schedule, we're not in 3, 2, or even 1 cup competition. We're in 1 competition for the rest of the year. The players that we've got, in my view, should be able to easily see that through. And I'm talking about accounting for the odd injury or probably more likely suspension or something like that. None of those players that we shipped out yesterday had any bearing whatsoever in where we are at the present moment in time. None of them were regular starters. Some of them hardly played any minutes whatsoever. So I'm not too bothered about anybody going. Am I disappointed nobody came in? Yeah, you're not going to be a fan unless you say you wanted someone to come in. However, how many times in the past have we been guilty of buying someone, especially last minute, and the implications on getting the wrong person in are long lasting? Yeah, we end up paying someone's wages for 2-3 years. The player doesn't make the grade. We try and ship him out. It doesn't happen. We send him out on loan, which is exactly what we've got now with a few players. So I am disappointed we didn't get anyone in. But who did get anybody in the Premier League? Who's really had a massively successful window? You tell me. West Ham didn't buy anyone. Wolves didn't buy anyone. Man United didn't buy anyone. Chelsea didn't buy anyone.
Tottenham got a couple.
Yeah, but they got Juventus reserves. So they got rid of a reserve in Dele Alli and Dombele, but they bring in 2 unproven reserves from Juventus who have had no impact whatsoever in the first team there. So they may turn out to be good, but to me, the January transfer window is always a dead squib, and I can't really see, I can't see that changing, because who wants to give up their best players at this time of year? There we were. Everyone was going bananas on. Was it Saturday that this bloody Swedish lad in Spain, someone was posting his car on Twitter or something around, and here he is with a £75 million release clause. He scored 4 goals in La Liga, which is a weaker league than the Premier League. And fans are going berserk for him. Were we really going to pay 75 million for him on deadline day? I don't think so. But so to me, I haven't got a problem with the players getting shipped out, all of them. And if that puts us in a much, much better position come the summer with regards to signing people, I'm all for it. But yeah, you're not a fan if you're not going to say you weren't disappointed somebody came in. But once again, you've got to get the right person in, not just buy for the sake of it.
Yeah, I hear that. Con, was there a worry that Arsenal might? Jerome, I'll ask you. Jerome, was there a worry that Arsenal might panic buy?
Yeah, definitely. Based on how we've done some business in the past. So yeah, on that front, I'm very like Simon said, I'm very happy that they haven't gone out and bought someone for the sake of it. Where I am, I'm sort of I can sort of see both sides of the argument, I suppose. Happy we haven't gone and wasted money on someone we're not sure about. But I think what this has done is, for the rest of the season, we've got to be extremely lucky with injuries and suspensions. And not even, because with injuries, when a player gets injured, sometimes they're out for a few months or the rest of the season. It's not as if an injury means that I was going to miss one game.
Yeah.
And like you said, we've got 17 games left, and you're asking the same players basically that played these first 21 league games to do it all again. And by the end of the last game we had, they were knackered. They were absolutely knackered. They got to go again and do the same thing. Also, what I think this has done, not bringing anyone in, on the flip side, is that in the summer, how much money have we got to spend in the summer? And we got to spend all that money with probably nothing coming the other way. We got to probably buy 2 centre forwards. They're not going to be cheap. We've probably got to buy a central midfielder. We've probably got to buy a backup right back. We've got to do that all in the summer. And they're major signings. They're not like buy a £5 million geezer that can do a job. It's like buy someone that can go into the first team. So I can see both sides of it. But we got to be super lucky between now and the end of the season. Yeah,
it's very, very, very tight. Barcelona's very own Jason Pettigrove, good friend of ours, been on the show before. He says you can have Aubameyang back. Steve, was you surprised that sale actually went through in the end, and for free as well?
I'm surprised it went through and no one came in, because you've weakened the team. It shocked me. It comes sort of out of the blue that all of a sudden he was in, he was in Barcelona, and it was looked like, he was going to go through, and then it wasn't going to go through, and then he was over there to see his mum and his mum, and and this was all Aubameyang, taking the piss. Let's get this right.
Yeah,
he was loving this. He was loving. I don't know what went on behind the scenes, in that meeting when he had his captaincy taken on. But this is Aubameyang going, I'm going to get you back. Right. This is what he's all about. And for me, I don't think he ever wanted to play for Arsenal again when he had his captaincy taken away. And I think that's why it was a mutual thing. But yeah, look, he didn't want to play for us. If someone don't want to play for your club, then you've got to go. And look, I'll say it now. Look, I'm gutted. I'm gutted because on his day, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is world class, and there was always that little bit of hope inside of me where, I was hoping that he was going to come back, and they was going to make up, and he was going to be friends, and he was going to come out on that pitch, and he was going to be like the Aubameyang and old, and he was going to take us. He was going to be that player we needed without signing anybody. He was going to take us into that Champions League position. And what was we all talking about, before the deadline day? What was we all getting excited about? What was we all getting, jumping up in the air about? It was the fact that after God knows how many years, our football club was going to get back to where it belongs in the Champions League. And I really felt, and this ain't nothing to do with Lacazette and Eddie and Nketiah, because I was saying it before the deadline day, that there was no way we was going to get through to Champions League with these two through the whole season. And for me, it's done. It's finished. Please, prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. I beg, I hope they prove me wrong. But it's like what Jerome was saying there. Lacazette's got to go through the whole season now, the whole on form, like he did a couple of games that he played before the deadline. And look, come on, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And I'm finding it hard to get into Mikel Arteta's head what he's thinking. What his thinking is. You had Burnley go and buy Weg Voorhorst for 12 million. Where are we? Why aren't we doing that? Why? He could have been he's not fantastic, but for 6 months, he could have been the player that gets us into the Champions League. And now we're so thin. I mean, someone said that, if any of our players do get injured now, it'll be like mother care on our bench. And it will. And the point I'm trying to get is that, please, someone answer me. What was in his head? What is in his Mikel Arteta's head now at this very moment in time? What was in his head when he said, Aubameyang, you can go, without, bringing absolutely nobody in and weakening us? I love Arteta, but I'm worried.
Simon, so you don't seem to be worried. Do you feel that Lacazette can get us through to the end of the season then?
So, Lacazette, what's to say we can't play Martinelli through the middle?
Yeah, that's a good point.
To me, there are the area I'd be most concerned with is midfield, because I think if you lose someone there, then I think that has more implications than elsewhere. I think we're okay. Let's assume everyone's fit. Yeah. So I don't think we're going to struggle too badly in defence. Midfield would be my worry. But I haven't got too many issues up front. If we have to play Pepe at centre forward, I haven't got a problem with that. As I say, it's 7. What I didn't want to do was just bring someone in just for the sake of it for the next 17 games. I would rather, if we're not going to go big now, and we obviously tried to sign Vlahovic, but he didn't want to come. Well, if you try and sign someone and they don't want to come, there's not really a lot you can do about it. But for me, I would rather wait and spend in the summer. I sort of almost mirror what Jerome says about people that we need to bring in the summer. And it will be 2 strikers, which will cost an awful lot of money if you're after the strikers, top notch. We're going to need another midfield player, and we probably will need another right back. So if we say there's 4 players for the summer, but we've still got players out on loan, we've still got players we think will come back, i.e. Saliba, for argument's sake. So we're not going to have to start buying centre halves again or anything like that. So if we look at a right back who may be cover, or if he proves himself, he may be a starter, definitely another midfield player. And 2 up front, I would say. So there's our shopping list for the summer already. So we've already saved. I mean, I saw an article today that we've virtually halved the wage bill in the space of 18 months. Now, surely we put ourselves in such a poor position by signing, people like Lichtsteiner and has-beens and stuff like that. With so many times in the past, we have got players that have just been bought, Perez, people like that, and just do not play games. And I just do not want to go down that road again, or buying a Chelsea reject. Let's just accept maybe that we will do business in the summer. We'll have to do business in the summer. I don't think there can be any doubt about it. But we've got to get the right players in the summer. But for the rest of this season, we've got what we've got now. There's nobody else coming in. So basically, we've got to accept that those are the players that are left. And we've got 17 games, and every single one of those games is going to be a huge game in the destiny of where we end up at the end of the season.
We're not getting there. We're not getting those players if we're not in the Champions League, though. Do you agree?
I don't know, Steve. I wouldn't. We've got
less chance, haven't we? Got less chance.
Yeah,
we'd have to see.
Yeah, Con, what's your thoughts on this? Are you worried that Arsenal are threadbare for the end of the season? Are you worried with the actual squad that they've got to actually get in the top 4 or even top 6 positions?
Yeah, sorry, but can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, good. Sorry about that. Yeah, well, we was discussing it the other day, weren't we? And then we were saying, I get getting rid of Aubameyang, for example. He wasn't, like Steve said earlier, he wasn't these sort of players who let go. They weren't going to play anyway, which is fine. I'm all for that. But we're in a position now at the beginning of the season. No, I don't think even the most optimistic Arsenal fan would have thought we're going to have a chance come January to be in the top 4. So we're in an opportunity. We had an opportunity this window to go and strengthen, to really bolster our chances. Because let's have it right, the teams around us, the reason we're where we are is because they're underperforming. You've got United are underperforming, Tottenham are Tottenham, but West Ham they're a bit up and down. So if any of these teams put together a little run, then they could leave us in the dust. We put together a little run and we was full for a couple of weeks and we got a little bit of daylight, but then we've gone on that run now in January where we've dropped off again. We haven't scored no goals. So I think it's a bit, I would have expected at least, I mean, you could probably get through without a midfielder because all the players coming back, but at least another option like a lone striker who, even if he only got 2 goals between now and the end of the season, them 2 goals could be the difference between 2 points or no points and 6 points, which at the end of the season could put us from 6th to 4th or 7th to 6th. And I think it's just a risk. And like Steve was saying about the wages, yeah, it's all well and good, like thinking in the summer we're gonna be able to bolster our squad. But if we don't get Europe, we're not going to be attracting the type of players we want. So I think it's a gamble. Will it pay off? We'll have to wait and see. I hope so. But you would have thought you would have at least liked to see one more striker who can just chip in and take a bit of pressure off Lacazette, because he can't play 90 minutes every week between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree. Jerome, I saw this earlier. We forget Martinelli can play through the middle 2 and Ketia can play out wide on the left.
About that.
Not to talk. I had to laugh.
That off.
I had to not to talk of Pepe on the left and Emil Smith Rowe. Stop thinking about injuries. With 17 games left, spread over a long period, we should be all right. What's your thoughts on that, Jerome?
Yeah, like I said with the game, I don't think it matters what period the games are spread over, because it takes 1 second to get an injury or 1 second to get a red card, and then you're losing a player for 3 games. So I'm not. I don't sort of buy that side where we've only got 1 game a week. I don't think that makes a blind bit of difference, to be honest. Nketiah, no, not he's. I'd be interested. I don't want to go in too hard on anyone, but when he leaves Arsenal, Nketiah, it'd be interesting to see the type of career he has in terms of the clubs that he plays for and what level he's going to play in. And we're asking him to, or we're not. We're sort of counting on him to be our sort of backup striker. I don't think he can play left wing. He's not that sort of player. He's a centre forward, a poacher, that type of player. He's not a winger at all. And yeah, Simon was right. I think Martinelli can play up front, but I don't know if the manager wants to play him there. I think his first.
Does he have many choices?
Well,
could have bought.
Well, the choices he's got, he can play Nketiah there. That's the obvious one. He's never played Pepe up front, so that's an option, but he's never done it in the past. He's done the Smith Rowe thing once or twice. We are proper limited. Lacazette, and let's face it, Lacazette, he's done well, but he's not exactly setting the world alight with goals, is he? And he's like our sort of Aubameyang, you could say, couldn't you? Now he's our starting centre forward. Yeah, it's just put a lot of pressure on players in the team that have already got enough pressure as it is. Yeah, tough ask. And Con was right what he said. Getting in a striker, maybe, that even if they score a few goals, you're right. These goals, in terms of points, can make a massive difference between now and the end of the season. Yeah.
Big, yeah, definitely. and it only takes a couple of goals to make a big difference when we're talking about the difference between 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
We can see how tight it is already, and we think it'll probably stay like this till the end of the season. Like, you're not going to be talking about a 10-point gap between 4th and 5th. It's going to be like maybe 5 points between sort of 4th and 7th. It's going to be super tight.
I know you're calm about the situation, Simon. But is there anything in you that thinks that Aubameyang and Arteta could have kissed and made up and sorted out this relationship for the good of the club until the end of the season, at least?
But what have we lost with getting rid of Aubameyang over the last 3 months?
Yeah, okay. If we're going off Aubameyang, that has been I can't count last season because the malaria, the ill mum, the lot. I'll write that off. But this season, I hear what you're saying. But he did score 4 goals early in the season. A couple of them were in wins. Surely they're going to count for something.
Every time I've seen him this season, he's been way off the pace. Way off the pace. So if you think about it, when he got dropped and we changed the formation, that's when we started to go on a good run. You know, he missed a few sitters, didn't he, in games? So comparing the Aubameyang from his first 2 seasons to the last season and a half is almost like a different player. Clearly, something's gone on behind the scenes. Maybe more will come out in time, but whether or not it's just the sort of manager or other players have fallen out with him, who knows? So, he has a history of being able to unsettle clubs. This is not the first time it's happened. It's happened before, isn't it? At Dortmund. So, who knows? But he's gone, isn't he? So, with regards to getting someone else in, so let's say we got someone else in. Let's say we paid 20 million for a striker, put them on a 3-year deal. Let's say they score 2 or 3 goals this season, but what happens in the summer? Does that affect us then being able to go out and get the striker we want because we've got another player on the books who's earning like money that would be used for future transfers or future wages? I don't know, but you've got to try and see both sides of it. As I say, I think we up front. I think we've got options. I think we've got options to play around with who we've got. we will have to wait and see. Obviously, you can pretty much write down now what the starting lineup's going to be at Wolves next Thursday. I would say.
I think every manager is going to be able to write down what the starting lineup's going to be for Arsenal for the next 17 games.
So there's our starting point next Thursday. We then don't play for another 10 days or something. Sorry, we have another about 10 days until Brentford, and then we have another 2-week break. So we've got 2 games in February. We're going to manage that, and then we go into the run-in after that. So you'd like to think that we'll have 15 games with a fully fit squad. But as I said on this show last week, the games that are going to determine where we end the season, to me, are the games at places like Palace, Villa, Wolves, Southampton, those sort of games away from home.
Yeah, Steve, I want to quickly go over some of the things that were the issues, and then I'll ask you the same question. Aubameyang was dropped for the North London derby, where Mikel Arteta cited disciplinary issues. He then missed the Europa League game due to not having a vaccination, but that was for malaria. But it could, as they said, it could have been avoided if he would have had a vaccination. But it's prerogative as a human being to not have a vaccination. It was then reported back late from France to pick up his ill mother. However, he was allowed to go there on the premise that he was to come back in time and follow the protocols for COVID-19. Was Mikel Arteta right to take away captaincy?
Well, in the look from looking in the situation we are now, no, he wasn't. Because
you say no.
He's put us in. Well, he's put us in the situation that we're in.
But is that hold on? Is that Arteta's put us in the situation, or Aubameyang's put us in the situation?
Sometimes you've got to treat players differently. Some players there's players out there sometimes who are right wrong uns, a pain in the arse, a pain in the backside. But if they do something for you, if they're I know he wasn't, but we know what Aubameyang can do. I don't think you can treat every player the same if you're a manager. If I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm treating Pierre Aubameyang differently to Emile Smith Rowe. When I pull him in the office, I'm having a different conversation with him. This is only me. This is only me. It's like in the old days when I'm sure George Graham had a different conversation with Tony Adams when he was out of order than he did with Alan Smith. Yeah, I'm sure he let certain players get away with things. Same with Ferguson. They let people get away with things more than what others do because basically they need them. Yeah. I don't know what's happened. You don't know what's happened. None of us knows what happened with Aubameyang in that office. If he wouldn't have taken the captaincy away, who knows? Just all ifs and buts. Aubameyang might have been fine. He might have come back. He might have been in the side. Might be scoring goals. We might be sitting in there ready for the next 17 games to go. I mean, we might not. It's all ifs and buts. But for me, he was out of order. And ideally, a player does need to be punished for what they do in some way. But I just think you do need to deal with certain players differently from others. I know some people say, we should all look at people the same and that player should be, they're all on the same. Well, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the fact that you should treat every player the same. I don't think you can because every player has got a different personality. And if you know that you're going to do something to a player and they're going to react this way, and you've got a player who's going to react that way, if you're a manager, you have to have that in the back of your head. You've got to know your players. You've got to know their personalities.
All right.
I mean, should he have got punished and should he got banned? And in a proper world, in a good world, yeah, he should have. But I've had quite a long while to think about it over the last few weeks, and I'd look back, and you've only got to look back with your Roy Keanes and all your other players. They get treated differently from others.
All right.
And but it's all ifs and buts, mate. It's all ifs and buts.
Con, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the Arteta treatment of Aubameyang? Do you think he should have dealt with it in a different way and we would have been in a different place right now, or do you think he was right in doing what he did?
Well, we don't. No one really. We know. We only heard what we wanted to hear. So what the club want to tell us is, I don't know if we'll find out more when this documentary comes out. Probably not. But I'm trying to remember. Was Aubameyang captain when Arteta come in?
Yeah,
he was, wasn't he? Yeah. So I mean, he sort of forced on him for him to be captain. That he can't come in and strip the captaincy off Aubameyang straight away. Aubameyang, when you look at him, he doesn't look like a captain, does he? He doesn't act like a captain on the pitch. He isn't someone who's trying to pick everyone up. He was made captain. We was going through a bad patch, weren't we? And he was the one scoring us the goals, and we sort of just put it on him really to be captain. He probably didn't even want to be captain himself.
I think it was a player's vote, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I just think to myself, he's clearly someone who's got some sort of attitude problem, because when Dortmund sold him, I think the Dortmund director said that he's not all the ticket, basically. Said that he's always turning up late. He don't know how. He don't know what. Yeah, he don't know what his problem is and stuff like that. And listen, his goals were getting him out of trouble. Where he was scoring so many goals, it was sort of, we'll look past that. And it's got to the point now where he's not scoring the goals. He's turning up late. Other players are looking at him as the captain and probably thinking, well, especially with such a young squad, they're probably looking at him thinking, if he can get away with it, why can't we? And he's forced Arteta's hand, and he's had to put a stamp on it and say, look, enough's enough now. And by all accounts, he's probably asked him to apologise, and he's probably saying, I shouldn't apologise, I've gone to get my mother, all this, that, the other. And I think Arteta's right, to be honest. If that's what you want from a manager, to put his authority on the squad, let the team know, look, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're the captain, I don't care if you're a highest earner, we ain't tolerating that. They're the basics. You've got to get the basics right. And if you ain't getting them right, then you've got no hope on the pitch. So I stick by it, and I think he's right to do it. The same with Guendouzi, similar situation. I think it's good. It's good to have a manager who does that for once.
Yeah. Jerome, do you think Mikel Arteta has sent a message to any potential signings that are coming in? Do you think it's the right message or the wrong message for anyone that's coming into this club?
Oh, right or wrong message? I don't know, because we don't exactly know what Aubameyang's done.
What about the message? Sorry, what about the message of the culture that he said at the start, which is it feels like he's trying to put onto the team now? Yeah,
from a personal point of view, I like it. Could it affect future signings? Possibly. People might look at that and think, I don't want to be managed by someone like that. But really, it's a really tricky one, because he's really putting down a marker, isn't he, Arteta? Don't mess with me, but don't step out of line. Or even if you are the captain, where, let's face it, Aubameyang should never ever have been captain in the first place. He's the exact type of player that isn't a captain. You probably couldn't get a more unlike captain character.
I know.
And I think that when he took the captaincy away from him, there was no way back. It's a big public display of it's just embarrassing, I think, to do that to a guy like that. There was never any way back. And as soon as that happened, I think the Arsenal, the Edu, whatever, Arteta, they should have been. They'd have known, like, this guy that's it. He's done. We've got to try and get someone else in, because he's finished. He's finished at Arsenal, and it's a shame, because he had a very good period of time for us at Aubameyang. But I think it's the right decision, and whether it's going to affect incomings in terms of Arteta, I don't know. It's really hard to say. Some people will like it. Some people think, yeah, that's a good approach. And others will think, what you're doing, you're falling out with one of our best players potentially. So from a personal point of view, I think I quite like it, but it's we'll wait and see.
Simon, do you think Arteta's setting the right culture for this football club going forward?
But what Steve said a little while ago, I'm sure he's right that Arteta will have different conversations behind the scenes with different players. I don't think that's in doubt, because you treat a youngster different to what you do a senior player behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. However, if you remember, one of the first ever things he said when he got appointed as manager was, there's a set of rules that everybody has got to buy into. And if people aren't willing to buy into those rules, then it can't work. Now, whatever has gone on behind the scenes, and we're only speculating because none of us know, as I say, whether it comes down to it. But you can only assume that some of those rules that were sort of laid down at a very, very early stage clearly haven't been adhered to by Aubameyang. And you would suggest Guendouzi. Well, Guendouzi and Aubameyang, I don't know them personally, obviously, but they strike me as easily distracted type people, would you say, or something like that? Or they've got a lot going, we're talking different worlds here. We're talking about ridiculously wealthy young people who basically, their job is to play football, not to talk about it like what we do. But I can only suggest that the benchmark that was set down right from the start, and that benchmark would apply to anybody that comes into the club, that you might get one strike and you're okay, but once you get 3 strikes, you're going to be out, aren't you? And if everybody knows that from day one, if that's laid down and you can't adhere to those rules, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't got a problem with that, because if you've got a divided camp, if I turn up for work late and no, I'm not coming in today, or I'll do this, sooner or later there's going to be some sort of implication for me at work, isn't there? Because people are going to say, well, everybody else manages to turn up on time. Why are you continuously late? So I haven't got a problem. Everybody lauds George Graham, don't they? Well, one thing George Graham was a total disciplinarian. Ferguson, look what happened with Ferguson. If you crossed him with people like Yap Stam, he was gone, wasn't he? There was no hesitation. He was gone. So
yeah, true.
Ruben Nistelrooy.
Did that break Man United? No, it didn't. So clearly, if you've got someone in charge, and you have to have someone in charge. You have to have someone in charge. You have to have someone making the rules. Now, if you can't live to those rules, maybe you've got to question your own part within that team. And as I say, whatever's happened has clearly gone too far. And the manager has obviously got the backing of the rest of the people above him to say, right, he needs to go, move on.
Yeah.
Can I just add something to that?
Of course, mate.
Just going back to what you said about the non-negotiable stuff that Arteta was saying when he joined. Also, what you got to remember is a captain's supposed to be like the manager of the dressing room. When the manager's not there, the captain should be the one in the dressing room setting examples that the manager's trying to set when he's not in. So, for instance, if Aubameyang's turning up late and all this stuff that Arteta's set, and they're not singing off the same hymn sheet from straight, it's never going to work.
Correct.
So it looks bad from a PR side of it that we're letting our number one striker go, but he was once, like one of you boys said, once he stripped him of the captaincy, there was no way back. And unfortunately, Arteta had to strip him of the captaincy because of the lack of discipline. And that always going to just descend on the change room. And if he's doing it, the captain's doing it, who's supposed to be the manager of the dressing room, it's just never going to work.
Yeah. Also, so can I just add quickly? Look how much Arteta fought to give up Aubameyang that big contract.
I was going to get onto that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry if I've jumped the gun.
No. But, this is good.
It's nothing. He was his biggest fan, Arteta. You saw the photos when they won the FA Cup. So he must have done something either seriously wrong or just broken a lot of rules for this to be the
trust. Sometimes it's just trust, mate.
Yeah, like you can't say Arteta come in and he didn't fancy him from day one. He wasn't his kind of player. Like he loved him. He was his favourite probably. And for it to come to this, there must have been some serious problems that we don't know about.
If I can just play devil's advocate, and this is just a question. This isn't what I think. If, and I'd just like all of you in the comments and obviously you guys, if we don't get Champions League, and there's a good chance that would possibly be because of we ain't got a goal scorer, and possibly because Aubameyang's now gone. Would it be worth it?
For me,
would have. So Aubameyang's had his punishment. He's had the rare. He's had his slapping. He's had his kicking, and whatever's happened. This is like Simon said. None of us know, right? So we're all saying that. And again, I'm the same. I've supported Arsenal just as long as same as Simon. So we're from the olden days. So we know what it is to be brought up with an Arsenal culture, and nobody knows it more than I do. And but so I want the culture. But if we don't get Champions League because we haven't got a goal scorer, was it worth it?
Yeah, how many people at the start of the we spoke about this last week? After 3 games, the word that everyone was talking about was relegation, not Champions League. The fact that we're sitting here on the 1st of February, even talking about Champions League, maybe we're overestimating where we thought we were going to finish anyway.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which is a good thing. That's only a good thing.
Yeah, but we got there, wasn't we? We are there. We're there.
But did we get there? But did we get there with Aubameyang? Probably not, did we? Because his input this season has been limited at best.
So what I'd say is Champions League, Europe it's a different question. Like if we don't get Europe, then I'm down at the Emirates myself going crazy. And it's not just because Aubameyang's left; it's because there was no one in there to replace him. Yeah, I also think Arsenal are taking a massive risk here. It's a gamble. It's a risk. Will it pay off? I don't know. That's why I can be disappointed that Arsenal didn't bring in a player, because I feel, along with everyone else here, that if Arsenal were to bring in a player, it would give us a better chance of getting 1 top 4 and 2 top 6. But I can't really have my proper say until the end of the season, because I'll just be ranting for nothing. It's a massive risk. It is a massive risk, and I hope it pays off, because it will undo a lot of hard work that we've done at the start of the season and from this time last year as well, because that run's been from last season as well.
But just adding a striker would only help, wouldn't it? It's not gonna make things any worse, even if it was help. Just a loan. So it can only help. So that's why I thought, even if they did get someone who isn't even a world beater, just an old sort of someone they can just chuck up there who's going to score a header in the 90th minute, who is just a different option to what we've got. 6 months, you've got no obligation. After the 6 months, thank you very much. It can only help. It's not going to make the dressing room sour because the players come in. So I just think it's just negligence, just not to even bring in another body on loan, especially after letting Balogun go as well. Not that I'm saying he would have been much, but it's an option. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Jerome, what's your thoughts on Steve's question?
It's the thing is, having Aubameyang wasn't going to guarantee anything anyway. So it's
no, but what we say, what I mean by Jerome is that if Arteta had a different conversation with Aubameyang and he never took the captaincy away from him, so there'd be none of this conversation. So he would just be working his way back into the team, whether he's playing good or bad. Yeah. He's still got that extra striker that can push you into the Champions League. Now, would that extra striker be in Aubameyang, and now not having him? Was what he did to Aubameyang, or which he may very well have had a perfect reason to be.
Yeah, it's the answer to that comes at the end of the season, doesn't it? I suppose. But
if you're a manager, you've got to answer that now, haven't you? If you're Arteta, you're in a position to say, I've got to make this is my decision. So my decision at the moment is to sell Aubameyang, to loan Balogun, and to stick with these 2 guys. And hopefully, like Simon said, they might bring Pepe in, they might do this, they might bring. It's all mites, isn't it? It's mites, square pegs in round holes.
Yeah, I think, look, obviously Arteta wants results, but honestly, I think what's more important to him is the attitude and the culture and all that sort of stuff. I think that if you was to ask him, what would you prefer, results or the culture of the club to be this kind of way, I think he'd say the culture. I think that's more important to him.
He can have his culture. I've had culture for 50 years.
Yeah, all right. Answer this. Answer this one. Yeah. If you treat someone differently, yeah, for everything they bring to the team, at what point do you stop giving them the allowance and that leeway when they're not doing what they've done to get that allowance? At what point do you stop? Do you keep allowing that person to be late? Do you continue that when they're not doing what you've done to give them that allowance, Steve?
These are, oh, sorry.
Go on, whoever.
These are people in life. They live a very privileged life, a life that millions, billions of people would love to have. If they can't stick to a few rules, then there's a problem with them, and they need to surround themselves with people that will keep them on the straight and narrow. You're not asking them to redesign the new Mercedes, whatever it is, G-Wagon. You're asking them to turn up on time, behave yourself like a normal human being, and don't be stupid. And if people can't follow those rules, especially when they get people to do everything for them. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but it's the truth. You shouldn't have to bend any rules. You do what you're told. You give your best on the pitch, and that's the end of it. And if you can't do that, then find another job.
All right. Jerome has had his say.
I think you have to look. I think you have to look at every situation. Would have been my answer. I think you have to have a look at your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm a manager. Right, he's out of order, Bamiyang. He was out of order as far as what we know. I'm going to take the captaincy away from him. Right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. What's the worst thing that can happen if I do that? He's going to get pissed off. He's going to have the ump. He might not want to play again. He might cause havoc. I might lose him. What happens if I lose him? He'll go. I haven't got a striker. Then I must get another one in. This baffles me. These are just normal questions. If I was a manager, these would just be logical. I love Arteta. I don't need him to go. He's here for the next 20 years, so I'm not going on that train. But these are just logical, obvious questions to me that would be going through my head, if I was in that situation.
A couple of things there, yeah. With regards to how many chances do you give him? So there's a difference. Obviously, he had some personal issues, didn't he, with his mother and stuff like that. I think we have to isolate that situation from other situations, because obviously then the rules are different if you've got something outside of work, and it would be no different with us. If you've got something outside of work that's involving someone that's ill or something, then they're exceptional circumstances, and your family is always going to come first, isn't it? But clearly, and he has been given time off for that, so I don't think we can factor that in. But as regards to how many chances do you give someone, well, to me, it should be virtually none, because if you're setting the rules down on day one, then it's made perfectly clear for everybody else. Now, these guys are not doing the journey I am to get to the Emirates on time for a 3 o'clock kickoff, are they?
Which is one hell of a journey, Si. You're a savage.
But they're driving 20 minutes in a luxury car, aren't they? So what would you do? Would you give yourself 15 minutes for a 20-minute journey? No, you give yourself half an hour to build a bit of a buffer in. So following on from that, is Aubameyang the type of player who can play to the system that Arteta clearly wants to play? Well, the answer I would give to that is probably no, because he's the type of striker that just sits on the shoulder of a defender and he's waiting for either the ball over the top. His link-up play is not marvellous. He's a great finisher, but what does he add to games when he's not scoring? What has he ever added to games when he's not scoring in the past? So our team has changed since Arteta's been there, and it's gone away from where it was when we came at the end of the Emery era to where we want to go. We all know what type of football he wants to play, and it's going to be a higher pressing game. Does Aubameyang fit that role? I'd say no. Does Lacazette fit that role? Probably not, because he's lacking in pace. However, he's a lot more unselfish than Aubameyang, and he's willing to drop way off the pace to drop back into midfield to actually use himself as a link-up player.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to go off what Steve said earlier as well, the question about would it cost us? If Aubameyang wasn't captain, we probably could have kept him around, and the question wouldn't be asked constantly, "What's happening with Aubameyang? What's happening with Aubameyang?" But because he's our captain, and obviously your captain is expected to play, he's a high earner. The question's asked, and then obviously they're forced to make a decision. If he wasn't the captain, he might have been able to just be on the bench, and if we really needed him, we could chuck him on, and then if we get the goals, we get the goals. But the whole situation is just it's just spiraled out of control since when he become captain, turning up late for games. And the thing is with the games as well, they haven't even got to go to the ground. They've only got to go to the Hilton in Angel, and then they get taken to the ground in a coach. It's not like he's got to drive down Holloway Road in bumper to bumper traffic.
Yeah.
So I agree with what Arteta's done, and I think I know being devil's advocate, would it cost us? You can't. He wasn't score. We look a better side with him not playing. If Lacazette was scoring, then there wouldn't be no dramas. But he balances the team a lot better than playing Aubameyang up front, because he drops in and links up play and allows the wingers to score the goals. So if Aubameyang was playing, we wouldn't have that.
Yeah, I'll ask you this: who do we look at the end of the season if it does go wrong? Who are you going to look at? I know the fans will just go straight to Arteta. Who do you look at the end of the season if Arsenal miss out on top 4 or Europe?
Well, you've got to look at the people above Arteta. Well, I suppose Arteta is involved in the transfers, but he's not involved in negotiating deals, etc. But surely Arteta, he's not. He wants as many players as he can have. He wants so many top world-class players, but obviously he can't have them all. So he's definitely going to have a list of players who he wants. And to go into the remainder of the season with 2 strikers, I know Martinelli was mentioned, but then that could potentially unbalance the team again, where it's all sitting nice at the moment. Him on the left, Saka on the right. If you then put him up top, then you've got to change it round again. So if we don't get any Europe, then questions need to be asked seriously. But I think if we got top 6, I mean, at the beginning of the season, if you would have said to me, we'll go back in Europe, I'd have bit your hand off. But obviously, it's like in business. It's the same with business. If at the beginning of the year you set a target, say for instance, you want to make 10 grand in a year, for example, and come April, you've already earned 8 grand, the targets changed, didn't they? And you think, right, we're halfway there, let's move it a bit. So like halfway through the season, we're in the top 4. There's no reason why we couldn't go, right, do you know what? The money we'd make from getting top 4, let's go and splash that on a top striker. Just go and take a gamble on someone. And if it doesn't work, you're only going to have to sign a striker in the summer anyway. So I just think it's just lack of planning from above Arteta. I'm sure he would have given names, and it's down to the Edu and Richard Garlick and all them people above him to get the deals done. It's not down to him. So it would have to be Edu and them people in the boardroom for not doing it. It would be on their head.
I mean, they did. Go on, mate.
You saw how confident Arteta said he was at the start of the window of potentially getting in players. Was that the voice of a man who would have thought on the 31st of January that we've signed a player that's going to go back out on loan straight away from America?
No.
So who
I mean, we aim to maximise every window. What was it? When Arsenal knock, it's a different knock. Well, look, one thing I can't, this ain't all Arteta's. As I say, look, the only thing I'm a bit disappointed in is the fact that we are now going into a second half of the season where we are well on for Champions League and we've weakened the side. Simple as that. Yeah, that is it in 2 sentences. But sorry, Kieran, what's your question again? Sorry.
Oh, you throw me off. Who are you looking at the end of the season if we fail to get into Europe?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I know for a fact that we was out there. We was out there to try and get Vlahovic. We was all in with a lot of money. We went out to try and get Isaac, but we wouldn't pay the release clause. So look, Arteta's tried in that. respect.
Mhm.
As far as like where we could have brought just someone in for a bit of backup, that bit I can't work out. And and Simon's already said January's very hard. I know it's very hard. I know what teams and people have gone through and agents have gone through over the last couple of days, and trying to get deals done. It's not easy. So I have a little bit of respect for people like Edu and Arteta, because it's not easy to get players in January. Who could we blame? To me, this goes back years, where it always seems to, every single year we seem to need another 2 players. Then we get a team together. Oh, we're great. We need another 2, and we never seem to get the players. We're in a situation now where we could go into Champions League. We knew 2 players. We spoke about it last week on the show. We all knew. We said we want a midfield player. We want a striker. We've got rid of 2 strikers. And now, it's ridiculous in my eyes, even though it's not easy.
Mhm.
So,
but isn't that a reflection, Steve? Maybe that we've been very, very poor in our dealings, maybe over the last 4 or 5 years.
Exactly, spot on, mate. Spot on.
What I said earlier is that has lasting implications on the ability to be able to buy people when you're paying players not in the team £150,000 a week. We need to get rid of all those players, and hence we have had a bit of a clear out now. The Kolasinac of this world, the Chambers of this world, the ones on loan, they've all got to go before we can get the right players in. Now, there's no guarantee whenever you sign a player, he's going to be the right player. We could sign Messi and he might not work, is there? But you've got to allow the regimes as they change. So you've got Arteta now, so you've got to allow him the ability to get the players in he wants, rather than the players that were there when he got the job and he had to work with at the time, because they possibly cannot work the system that he wants them to.
Yeah, I mean, if he had, if the Cronkies had sorted out the team over the last 5 years, just like you said, and they've got the players in when we needed them to get them, which we all know, we could go back as far as Petr Cech, and we needed a couple of players. We was all saying, we need a couple of players, we can go and win the title. But we went and bought Petr Cech. Following year, we couldn't even qualify for Champions League, or something like that. And why was that reason? It was because we bought Petr Cech. Everyone's going mad that we've got one of the world's best goalkeepers. But that's not going to help you. We always seem to need 2 players to go out or players to go in. We're never in a situation where we go and get those players, or we move them players out. It's either one or the other. This window, again, it's players out. We're not bought one. Year before, the season before, it was a bit of both, quite a good window. But we always said Cronkies need to sort this window out. They haven't. But then again, I do say it's hard in January. But that doesn't help us. But what happened, and the reason that is because you can go back over the years, just like Simon said, if it was run properly over the years, when we would get the players in at the right time, we wouldn't care about if Aubameyang's gone, because we'd have someone here already to replace him. And so it's upstairs, but not necessarily of the now, but upstairs of what's been going on over the last few years.
All right.
I'd say to that quickly.
Go on.
What I think is that if we're really serious about challenging again, all the teams above us, they're miles above us. They've got a squad. They've got players who can come in, and then. So, for instance, if we're really serious about challenging for the league, and you look at City, I know we're nowhere near them at the minute, but they can drop 2 players out, and they've got 2 replacements who come in. We haven't got that at the minute. So, to catch up, we can't afford to miss transfer windows. We need to keep strengthening. That's just to keep up. That's not even to close the gap, because we haven't really got a strong squad. When you look at our first 11, there's a couple of players you think we need to strengthen there, whereas these other clubs, look at Liverpool, they've gone out and signed this Diaz. He's just to strengthen again. That's just to strengthen, not even to go straight in the first 11. Yeah. Whereas we're looking at players just to go in the first 11, and then we're still going to have the problem if them players come out, who are we going to replace them with on the bench? So we need to keep strengthening every window to bridge the gap, because the gap's so big. We can't afford to miss windows, because you can't go out and spend in the summer buy 10 players. You might, but if you've brought in 2 now, that's 2 less you got to do in the summer. And then the ones in the summer, you can work more on just improving certain areas rather than trying to get a big bulking, because we're going to need at least 3 strikers come the summer if Eddie and Lacquer are leaving. So then that's 3 players there. Then you're going to need a couple of midfielders, a right back. It's just you're always chasing your tail.
Yeah, and potentially that's one of them situations where you brought in too many players at one time. You've all got to get them to gel at one time, which is probably why he wants to keep the likes of Lacazette for one more season. I'll ask you one question before we go. Start off with Jerome. Jerome, with this current squad, where do we finish?
6th.
All right. Con, with this current squad, where do you think we're going to finish?
Well, the optimist in me says 4th, but I'll be real, and I'll echo Jerome. I reckon minimum 6th.
All right. You both happy with that?
At the
Par,
beginning of the
it's par
season,
for the course, I think. It's par, yeah.
It's where we are, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Steve, with this current score, where do you think we finish?
Yeah. I'd hope for 6, and there's not a lot. Champions League, we got no. I mean, unless everyone keeps fit, and Lacazette keeps, performing the way he does every single game for the rest of the season, then we may have a chance. But no, I've got to say 6, mate. 6.
All right. And Simon, the ever optimist, come on. With
I'll
this squad,
I'll give you
where
the
do we finish?
definitive answer in the middle of May.
Oh, you can't do that. That's what Jerome would do.
do
When I asked Jerome a question now, and he gives me sends it on a posted envelope. Like,
you must have been impressed that I did that quite quickly.
I was well shocked.
I'm going 4th, yeah.
All
Shut
right,
me right. I'm going 4th. I like to be different, so I'm going 4th.
All right. That is what I like to hear. Si. All right. Dean, new name in here. Thank you for joining us today. Smash that subscribe button, and we appreciate your support there. Miracle is a bit far-fetched, mate. Well, we never know. We never know. That's what fans do. We are far-fetched. I am the ever optimist. I'm going for 4th. No injuries, no COVID, no bad form. Come on, Arsenal. Right.
Who's going to finish 4th, though? Who's going to finish 4th? You got Liverpool, you got Man United, you got Chelsea, and then we've got to get in front of Man United and Spurs.
I'll just say actually 5th. I think 5th we should go, because if Man United finish above us, you can understand because of their squads. Like it's like you wouldn't have the if United. I know United ain't been very good, but their squad's better than ours. So if they finish 4th, you can sort of think, all right, fair enough. So 5th,
they've only got rid of players in the window. Some by choice and some not by choice.
But they did buy Rafael Varane, Jadon Sancho, and Cristiano Ronaldo to their squad at the start of the season, which is why we never even contemplated 4th. So again, I say it again, the fact that we're still having that conversation now, we've come out of January, which has been probably our worst month all season, bar the start of the season. We've lost 1 game in the league and we're out of the cups, which is a disappointment. But one of them teams that knocked out us of the cup are Liverpool, the team that is labelled one of the greatest teams to win the Premiership of all time. So it will be tough. We're going to have to clench, fasten our seatbelts and the lot, tie up them shoelaces with double bows, because it's going to be a rough ride. But if we get 4th, it'll be one of the biggest achievements we've had in years.
Kieran, if we get 4th, Arteta deserves massive credit if we get 4th.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Steve's appearing
first
to
finish
4th.
fourth.
We get 4th.
It would just, but it just would mean so much Do you know what I mean? It's been so long now that we
Honestly,
haven't heard that music, and it's just
that music. That's exactly what you said, Steve. That music. People that turn around and say, if you're not going to win the Champions League, there's no point in being in it. I don't know when you was born, like because you was not involved in the when Arsenal win the forget the Munich's 10-2s, like they happened. That was Arsenal on a downward spiral. I was there when we beat Barcelona. Chills, mate. Chills. Yeah, we did, but it's those games which you remember. You remember where you were at the time. Exactly, it's what you live for. It's what you live for being a fan. It's them one games. It's not always about winning the competition. It's about the individual games as well. It's got to be a part of it. That music, Tuesday and Wednesday nights. I'm sick of Thursdays and Sundays, honestly. I'm sick of it.
Do you know what? Do you know what I was going to say? Because I was totally forgot.
Right, 5 minutes over time. Trying to keep to this schedule, otherwise I'm going to be back on 2 hours.
No, just I think what Arteta must be thinking is praying that when Pepe comes back, he's going to play him in that false 9 position. Because I keep saying he was going to trying to morph Arsenal into like that City formation.
Yeah,
and maybe that's in his head as well.
I reckon Pepe is now getting treated like Wagyu beef. He's getting the massages. He's getting the magic music in the background as he sleeps. He's getting marinated, isn't he? 100%. He's being treated like prime beef. Do you know what, Pepe? I've always rated you. I've got a spot for you. I've just got to get rid of Aubameyang. Do you know what I mean? Sort it out.
Do you know what? He's just he'll come back 3 days late from Africa and he'll be like, "No, you're all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
No, that's me. That's my watch.
No.
That's not the calendar. Yeah, you know. All right. Thank you, everyone who has joined us tonight. Thank you, everyone in the comment section. If you are new to the show, please press that subscribe button and press that like. We've got so many big things happening. We've got in association with some big companies. We've got some superstar guests coming on the show, Arsenal legends as well. The list goes on. All right. Thank you for joining us tonight, Steve.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure.
All right. Thank you for joining us tonight, Simon.
Thanks. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Jerome.
Yeah, of course. Cheers. Thank you very much.
And making his debut, it's Con Marble Halls. Thank you for joining us tonight, mate.
Cheers, Wes. Thanks for having me. Blinder.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Don't forget to press that subscribe button. Peace out. Stay safe. And wash your hands.